Before I get into the brunt of my idea worth sharing, I want to remind you all of a couple of things. Given the college environment for this talk, it's safe to say that many in the audience, both in this room and online, will be parents in the next decade, if they aren't already. To these parents and parental hopefuls watching, the idea that I bring today will be of special urgency to us. So, in the most viewed TED Talk of all time, Sir Ken Robinson, an educational theorist and reformer from Britain, highlights why creativity is becoming an all but indispensable trait in the educational structures of the world. His contention, he states, is that creativity now is as important in education as literacy, and we should treat it with the same status. Now, that idea fascinated me the first time I saw it, and every time since. I've always been a fan of strong displays of oratory, and Sir Ken is certainly no slouch in that arena, but eventually I was not so much interested in how he was saying things as what he was saying, the concept behind it all. As an education major, I spend a lot of time studying the powers that be in education and how they go about shaping the future and our futures. I've spent even more time trying to learn how to become one of those powers that be and help mold the education process myself. But then I had sort of an epiphany. I started thinking. I started sifting through the things that my parents did in raising me that seemed to work, or not work. Every parent has their methods. But eventually I started to come to grips with the abnormality of my childhood. And not your garden variety of weird childhood either. Allow me to explain. It starts with my name, Barton Christmas. I've been told that it sounds like an English Village holiday festival, or a stage name, or a Wes Anderson movie. To these I say yes, actually, no, actually, and I wish. Suffice it to say, it's not a particularly common name, but it does have a great deal of meaning. Barton is my mother's maiden name, given to me because she had no brothers. It makes me kind of the torchbearer. And Christmas is exactly like you would think. It's a name given to one born on the holiday. In the case of my family, the original Yuletide toddler, as best I can tell, was John Henry Christmas, born December 25th, 1493. So you take together an old last name and a winter holiday, and you can understand why my mom would always say to me, they're going to remember your name for better or worse, so make it for the better. It's a classic mom skill, right? It's cautionary encouragement. And that was important for me to hear, but it's not for most people to hear. The United States Census Bureau lists about 5,000 first names in common use, which means that 5,000 names account for the majority of a 300 million person country, which seems counterintuitive to the utilitarian purpose of names. Like, how can a name serve as a person's unique identifier when they share it with, based on those numbers, an average of 60,000 other people? And I'm particularly calling out the Elizabeths, of which there are 1.5 million, the Josephs, about 2.3 million of you, and you knew it was counting Mary and James, approximately 4 million and 5 million respectively. I have 19 Hannahs in my phone right now, okay? And they're all wonderful people, but I can't imagine that it feels particularly efficient to be part of a naming bottleneck. So this is the first half of my parenting advice. Here's the idea: unique naming practices. We live in a kind of world where people are willing to push the envelope with their tabbies and their porgies. They tread off of the beaten path, they think outside of the box, they get edgy, they get creative. What if we were willing to push that same envelope when we name our children? And I don't just mean changing the spelling on an otherwise common name. You're just making a kindergarten teacher's job that much harder. I'm pushing for actual phonetic diversity and etymological diversity and genuine meaningfulness and consideration. Because individualization of names and creation of new names is going to help with the processes of ghettoization and stigmatization of names that get treated with some kind of a cultural baggage. And, studies show that if you give your child a less common name, they will develop creative thought processes earlier on in life. And guys, the practical benefits of a unique name cannot be understated. Like, I'm not half as accomplished as some of my peers at this institution, but Google me. You do not have to add in a hometown or a school name, because I'm the only person on this planet with my name. It is just me and the Reed and Barton Christmas on my phone. Okay? And here's another thing. I've never applied for a social media account where my name was already taken. It is always available for me to start developing my own brand. Now, Facebook doesn't recognize Christmas as a real last name, but that's a separate TED Talk. This is the reality of unique names. They truly do serve as stronger identifiers for children to create this identity that's all their own. And that is invaluable to the youth of a social media society like the one that I grew up in, that you grew up in, that our children will be growing up in. So that's the first half of the advice, and arguably that's the easier half. Well, let's say you have a creatively named baby in your arms. Now, how do you go about helping that child on their journey? Obviously, there are a million components to good parenting, the majority of which I do not even have the slightest qualification to tell you people about. But there is one component that I have some expertise on, and that's what I want to share with you today. Allow me to demonstrate. When I was 6 years old, I went to balloon school in Atlanta, Georgia, a ballooniversity, if you will. And I learned the basic twisting methodologies of the modern balloon artist. When I was 11, I started my own business, Barton's Balloons, blowing up smiles. When I was 18 years old, I got offered a scholarship in creative enterprises, this place called Vanderbilt University. Anchor down. I literally paid for college with hot air. And I don't think that that's something that my parents thought was going to be viable when we first went to balloon school. But that's where I'm at, which has been a blessing. But it's not something that most parents see as viable for their child. All too often, I'll be doing balloons, and a parent in line will say something along the lines of, oh, well, we got them one of those balloon kits to play with, but they couldn't get the hang of it. Here's the problem with that thinking. Neither did I. You know? Every skill, even the obscure ones, have their prodigies and their everyone else's. I was not a balloon prodigy. I was quite bad at it early on. But that did not mean that my parents let me stop at one balloon kit. I got to keep learning and keep improving. So think about it, piano, figure skating, theater, football, foreign languages. These are not things that you let your child give up on because they don't master it at the age of 6. And so this opportunity to keep learning and growing, this is what I'm asking you to do. Or rather to not do. Do not discount the pursuits that your child enjoys that you consider strange, particularly not at early ages. For the children of tomorrow, I beg of you the autonomy and the subsequent support structures to explore the most outlandish extracurriculars they can find. I have friends who were raised as fire breathers, stilt walkers, acrobats. There are scholarships out there for potato farmers, video gamers, marble players, candy makers, greeting card artists. These are people who are allowed to tread way off the beaten path into the strangest vocations they could find, and it worked for them, just like it worked for me. Now, I'm not saying go home and train your kids in balloon art. Please don't think that will ruin my profit margin. But rather, what I'm asking you to do is to think about the activities that you give a place to in your child's life. Ask yourself, what does my child not know they can be? When you find the answer, let them know. Does Bodovin know that he can design fashion? Have I told Keeler about karate? Maybe Relian doesn't know about junior aviation. Maybe Vesper would be enthralled with glass blowing. What if Zaja turns out to be really good at the banjo? Does Naya know that I'd support his decision to become a street mime? Yeah. And maybe some of you are rolling your eyes at these examples, at both the names and the hobbies. You're like, there's no future for them in that. And maybe you're right, but maybe that's not the point. If that were the point, a lot of you likely would have gotten to skip t-ball and practicing your cursive. Look, maybe your child will find their way to a career in their chosen novelty. I know many balloon artists who make 6 figures, but if they don't, that does not make it a loss. To quote Kurt Vonnegut, the arts are not a way to make a living. They're a very human way of making life more bearable. Practicing an art, no matter how well or how badly, is a way to make your soul grow. Sing in the shower, dance to the radio, tell stories, write a poem, even a lousy poem. Do it as well as you possibly can. You will have created something. This is my call to action for all of you who are or will one day be raising a child. Help them see just how big this world is and just how unique a path they can take within it. Send them on their way with a name that is theirs and a talent like no other, and you'll be preparing them for a life of excitement, of confidence, and a chance to make a mark on this world like none before them would have fathomed. And in that respect, I believe you'll have been an incredible parent. Thank you.